Correct.
Okay, got it. Finally got it.
There's
And
really no there's really no other cities, but just
and Jim, you grew up in Syracuse. I mean, Dennis. God,
Yes.
what I
Well,
mean
no,
about acting old.
no, I grew up in Moon. I was born in Syracuse. We
Oh,
moved here when I was a child.
got it. You grew up
with
in
the
Moon.
airlines.
Okay.
So I'm originally from New York, but I'm a Pittsburgher.
okay. Wow.
So is Jim not going to be able to be on?
We're having trouble. We
Yeah,
are.
I'll see if he gives me a call in a couple minutes here, and I'll see if we're able to get him on.
So Dennis, I I called Wayne King today. We talk frequently.
Okay.
I called him and told him what we were doing today. So Todd, I invited another tomb guard. I saw in your
Oh, good.
someone else.
Wonderful.
So
Thank
actually,
you.
Actually, the three of us served together. Again, quite an anomaly to find find someone in that area outside of coordinating it through the society, especially. So yeah, so I asked him to come on. So we'll see if he's on. What? So you say you got to the tomb in '87, Dennis?
January 1st, 87, right.
Okay.
I came from
okay.
1st Platoon.
Yeah, first relief. So I got there in October '86, and then Wayne was there, got there in '85. So if he comes on, I'll share some of that story, but I'll save it for that
I
time.
remember Wayne.
Yeah, because he remembered you.
Mhm.
I remembered your name. I was like, yeah, I'm trying to put a face, especially when two different. Now I'll say two different eras, but really, if you're there as relief commander, you have those guys on your relief, and you're going to see the other reliefs here and there. You know how that goes. And then to come back as a sergeant of guard, but then you see them all every day. So it's different faces, and none.
Sorry to interrupt you here, Bart. Are we live streaming on Facebook and YouTube?
We are, and I think we're just about ready to start and play the music.
Let's do it.
Okay.
We'll have to start without Jim, unfortunately.
Wow.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to our VBC Happy Hour for this Monday, May 24th, 1 week before Memorial Day. And we thought, given the holiday coming up, it would be a good time to do a program on the 100th anniversary of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier with veterans who served as tomb guards. And with us, we have Dennis McMahon and we have Bart Womack, and we're going to get to them very soon. And we hopefully will have Jim Carterman. I know that he's been trying to sign on, and we look forward to having him sign on. And we were just talking about before we went live here, how many tomb guards, Dennis and Bart, would you say are living today? People who have served as guards at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier?
Ooh, now you threw a curveball by saying,
Yeah, living.
yeah.
680 have been awarded.
Okay, I think that's what I'm not looking for an exact number, but ballpark. 680 Tomb Guard badges have been awarded since 1958 or so, correct?
Correct.
Oh boy. So I mean, we're talking not many in the three digits, veterans who have served as guards in the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And it's the rarest badge in the Army. Maybe one of the rarest, certainly.
One of the rarest, for sure.
Least awarded.
One of the least awarded. Second, says Mary Klepper.
I think the Army
Astronaut
astronaut badge.
Astronaut badge. Yes, the astronaut badge. And it takes somebody who has a Christmas wreath behind them in May, I think, to come up with that insight. I also want to say hi to my younger daughter, Libby, who's joining us home from college, and she's joining us. Hello, Libby. How is it where you are?
It's great down here, 2 floors below you.
Yes, very
Definitely
good.
better.
I'm in the attic and she's downstairs. And we have Ellie, my other daughter. She is the producer for this program. And Ellie, how are you?
Doing well. I'm over in Chicago though, so a whole time zone away.
Yes, and it's hot in Chicago. I
It is. Today
understand.
it is.
Very hot in Chicago. And I know that we have some announcements also for upcoming programs. We have a really big week. Tomorrow night, we have a Tuskegee Airman, Harry Stewart, joining us. And then Wednesday morning, we have the Secretary of the VA joining us. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I also see we have Josh Moyer joining us for the first time. Hello, Josh. Good to see you. Josh,
Hi, how are you?
he and I corresponded briefly by email. You're in Youngstown. And I thought before we got into the Tomb of the Unknown conversation, just in case you have to, skedaddle somewhere, you have a nonprofit, you have a cause called the Bilotti Op.
Yes, sir.
And would you mind telling us a little bit about the Bilotti Op?
Yeah, so in 2017, I got out of the Army. I came back up to Ohio, and I got a call from some of the guys that were all in AIT and basic together that one of our closest friends, Specialist Matthew Bilotti, he had taken his life, Fort Bliss, and I went down that hole for about a year, and then I started getting involved with veteran suicide organizations, and then I contacted Matt's family, and I decided that I was going to let his name go on. So what we ended up doing was creating the Bilotti Op. We're doing community involvement stuff right now. We have an event coming up in July. It's sitting a little over 500 people with just using social media and word of mouth.
And this is the cruise and bike run that I'm showing on my screen, Saturday, July 17th.
Yep, that's it right there.
And this is in the Youngstown, Ohio area.
Yes.
And if people want to join it, people want to be there or support it in some way or support the Bilotti Op in some way, what do they do? Where can they go?
So I have a close group of veteran volunteers, and then I have some people that I grew up with that are volunteering and helping out. But you can find all of us on the Bilotti Op Facebook page. We did have a website. We're working on it, kind of buffing it out before we relaunch it because there was a lot of bugs with it. Yep. So a lot of our stuff is done on Facebook right now for the majority. So you can contact any of us on there. All of our names are on there and stuff like that. But the business support, the community as a whole, everyone that's come out and talked to me over the phone, through email, through texting, they've all been amazing.
You said, Josh, do you go by Josh or Joshua?
Josh,
you said that after Matt took his life, you went down that hole for a year. Can you describe a little bit about what that means?
So I went down, I was drinking a lot. That was my big thing. It was pretty well, I want to say every other day. It got pretty bad. I wasn't surrounded by all my Army friends. I wasn't surrounded by that military brotherhood anymore. It was me on my own. And then it took my mom and my dad and everyone, all my close friends telling me, hey, you're not alone and you can get through this. And that's when I ended up turning a page and put down the bottle. And I decided that this wasn't what I wanted to be known for, is that guy that, oh, he's always at the bar. He's always doing this. No. And I just turned it into something positive. I mean, all that hurt and all that just changed for the better.
Oh, so, my.
Yeah, it was so from December 9th, it was probably about that next Christmas before I was done. It was almost a full year of just doing whatever I had to do to forget everything.
Josh, I don't know if I told you, but I'm not a veteran. And okay. So, everything I've learned about veterans, I've really learned with working with them through the Veterans Breakfast Club. And one thing that surprises me, and it surprised me at the time when I started learning it, and I think surprises a lot of people like me who don't come from military families, is how difficult that separation from the military can be, how at sea you feel, how alone you feel. I mean, in a way, it's being kind of like cast adrift by your family, because the Army or the Navy or the Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Air Force becomes your second family. Would you describe is that part of the problem you think is you don't have the people around you anymore who were part of this team, your community?
So the big things that I say are a big contributor to veteran suicide are one and two. One is usually it's up there as PTSD, post-traumatic stress is up there. It's the first thing everyone thinks about when a veteran kills himself. They're like, oh, he probably had PTSD. But another thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration is the transition. Is when you get out, is you had that brotherhood, you had an income every 2 weeks, you were getting paid on the 1st and 15th, and now you're out. And yeah, you can use your GI Bill, you can do this, you can do that. There's a lot of people that don't know that there's a lot of programs. Like for the guys that don't want to go to college, they can go do the Helmets to Hard Hats program and go into the working trades and use their GI Bill, and they end up burning out. They back up on their bills. That car that they bought, that brand new car they bought when they were an E4 that they could afford then, and then they come in with no money, and that transition is so hard. That it's the hardest thing, and especially doing on your own is extremely difficult. I did it, and I was changing oil for $8-9 an hour until some friends got me a better job. I mean, it really sucked. It's knowing that there's programs, knowing that there's people out there that can help you. But I always think that transition is very difficult, and no one really even thinks about it.
Oh boy, it really is difficult. Just from talking to hundreds, if not thousands of veterans, over the past several years, I've gotten a sense of how difficult it is. So what does the Bilotti Op do maybe to help ease that transition? Is the mission to raise awareness, or is it to engage veterans or engage people like me who aren't veterans?
So for what my overall goal right now is obviously awareness, but also prevention. It's getting it out there and getting these guys to come forward. That's like you bottle all this up and you don't want to talk to anyone about it. It's that mentality of being great, and you don't want people to think of you as just weak for whatever reason. You don't want to talk to somebody, but we need to start getting people talking about it. Veterans need to understand it's okay to not be okay. I mean, I would rather you call me at 1 o'clock in the morning and cry over the phone and meet me out somewhere than I wake up the next morning to, hey, this news article, someone's in the ICU because of whatever it was. But my overall goal is prevention. I started working with counselors and stuff like that from the VA and Ohio One Health. I'm trying to reach out, try to figure out the root where it is when they're getting out, is making sure that they're okay and not just checking that box when they clear medical and saying, all right, he's good, he doesn't have PTSD, he's all good. When they're getting out, we should be saying, hey, do you have a plan? Where are you going? What do you, and make sure that they have some kind of thing so that they don't get out and burn out. So that's the overall goal. Is if I have to go to every military installation across the board and make sure all that I know as far as the Army, we call it ACAP, as I don't know as far as the other branches, but you have to go through it, and it's, hey, these are some of the programs that you can get into. But it's making sure that those programs are doing their jobs. If that's what we have to do, if I have to go all across the United States to do it, then that's what I'll probably end up doing.
Does anybody have any questions for Josh or comments that they want to make? Please do feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Hey, Bart, how are you?
Yeah, I'll make a comment. I could not reiterate more to have a plan. So I don't want to get too deep into this, but when soldiers used to leave my command or getting out, I didn't make them come in. I'm not going to make them stay in. So that choice was theirs to come in as well as to go and get out. But I was adamant about them having a plan. So the easy out was always to say, I'm going to college. And I said, where's your acceptance letter? Well, no one had a letter. That was the easiest thing they thought they were going to be able to tell me and get over with. So no, that doesn't work. What is your plan? And I knew what it was going to be like for them getting out here and what that stuff was going to be like. And without a plan, but they had heard us tell them over and over and over again, if you don't plan to fail, if you don't have a plan.
Right.
And that is, it's a big contributor, you know. So Josh just said it. And when you go around those bases, is what is your plan, and poke holes in it to make sure that they're covering up those holes. Because if you plan, you know, you might get someplace, but if you don't, it's gonna be tough.
Yep. Don't try and predict what's going to happen. Prepare for what's going to happen, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. Is anybody else? Lisa Refner, how are you? It's good to see you again. Lisa, you put a comment here in the chat. Do you want to?
Let me unmute myself.
Very good.
I was trying to calm the dog down. He decided to have a fit. No, I just wanted to reach out to Josh and to say I'd love to learn more about his organization. We are planning to have a wellness event for military veterans and their families September of this year at Pitt Greensburg. We had intended to do it in 2020, but obviously with the pandemic, we were unable to have it, and trying to do it in a virtual format, we weren't sure it was going to have the same outreach effect. So we've got it rescheduled for, I think it's September 26th. It's the last Saturday. It's the 25th or the 26th in September, as September is Suicide Awareness Month. So I'd love to hear more about what they do and possibly have some of their literature or have them involved in the event somehow.
Okay, I just did.
Oh, is that Jim Cardiman?
Oh, you're hearing me now?
We are hearing you, Jim Cardiman. Thank you. Hallelujah. Good to see you. I'm sorry, Lisa. We got sidetracked a little. Jim is one of our guests here, and he just got unmuted, and we're ready to go with him. So, Jim,
whoa, time out. Apparently, all I'm on is voice. I don't think
we can see your face.
No, we see your face, Jim.
You see my face now?
Oh, yeah. You're talking on the phone. We see you right now. You're a handsome devil.
Yeah, kind of. And old. Don't forget old.
So, Jim, you could, or if you're talking to Ellie, you could hang up. You're not talking to Ellie. You're talking to somebody else.
No, but I was talking to my son-in-law who was trying to help me through with this.
That's what makes
I don't hear him
fun.
now.
Okay.
So he must be gone.
Jim, I'm just going to mute you for a second, okay?
And you're talking to the iPad for your Zoom meeting.
Okay.
I love this stuff. This is a great job. Okay, Lisa, Josh, you need to connect to Lisa. And Josh, also, I know that you're not far from Pittsburgh. You're in Youngstown, Ohio, and I know you're looking to expand the Bilotti Op to Cleveland and the Pittsburgh area. Please do stay in touch. Please do join us again whenever you have something to announce. You could send us information about the July 17th event, and we could help spread word about it. And, keep us updated on what's going on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Oh, the other thing, Josh, is join us sometime to tell your story. We want to hear your story in the Army, all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Yes, Larry Googans, how are you?
Yeah, I got my little yellow hand up against a yellow wall, so it doesn't show up. Josh, I'm the president of our Vietnam Veterans of America chapter. You may know that. Todd does. I love to get a copy of your flyers or whatever you have. Send them to Todd. He'll send them to me. We'll post them. Lee's on right now. Lee Corfield on my screen. He's 4 down from Todd. And we'll put it on our website. We're in contact with a lot of the Legion Riders and Vietnam veterans, and Todd and I will get a hold of VBI also and see if we can't support. We're just right across the border.
Yep, right across the border.
Good work. It needs to, I heard everything you said, and as everybody in this room will know, it needs to be taken care of, and we need to protect our veterans from some disaster that you mentioned. So anyway, thanks, Todd. Keep in contact, make sure we can get the information. We'll fire them up to 800 or 1,000 veterans in the local area.
You bet. And Josh, if you want to, there are comments here on the Zoom side. If you want to follow up on any of them, if you want to put your contact information here on the Zoom side, we could transfer it over also to our Facebook live stream, so people could contact you if they want to learn more about the Bilotti Op or they want to join your event. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Hey, we have Hughes Turner. Hughes, you put some comments in the Colonel. put some comments in the chat here. Do you want to chime in before we move on to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier?
Well, I just want to follow up on what Bart said regarding departing service members
Sure you're going to get
and having a plan. It's important for commanders and the senior NCOs to allow sufficient time for the departing service members to begin that transition process. I think we've done a poor job in the past. I think the military has done a better job in the last several years, but it's extremely important. And you don't think about it until it's your time to leave. And then you recognize I needed more time to do things like medical exams and things of that sort in order to file my disability claims with VA and all those other attendant issues. So I just wanted to follow up with what Bart said.
Thank you very much, Hughes. I appreciate it. Because it's Memorial Day is a week from today, and I like to say that, and I'll say this again next week when we have our Memorial Day program, that for not coming from a military family, not being a veteran, for most of my life, Memorial Day was a 3-day weekend. And it took a while for me to learn what a important and beautiful and actually fascinating holiday Memorial Day, or originally Decoration Day, is, with a rich, interesting history. And I think I could say the same for the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, that I remember seeing it as a child. I remember being very much, not the word impressed is too weak to describe my reaction to it. It was more like awe. And I think that is exactly what the tomb is intended to inspire, is not only it's not only a solemn space, it's an awe-inspiring space. And I think what inspires people is not so much the design or how big it is, or it's what it represents. And we're marking the 100th anniversary of this remarkable Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. This year, Congress approved its creation on March 4th, 1921. It was dedicated then on Armistice Day, it was called then. It wasn't called Veterans Day. November 11th, 1921. President Warren Gamaliel Harding, I think, laid a wreath and made a few remarks. And you could see how it is revered and guarded today. It's been guarded around the clock 24/7 since 1937. And it was inspired really by this first major Tomb of the Unknown Warrior, which is in Great Britain. And what's interesting as a historian, I find it interesting that Great Britain, France, and originally the United States, the federal governments, the militaries involved, they did not want a Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, because a Tomb of the Unknown Soldier would force the governments to admit that we don't know who thousands and thousands of these people who gave their lives in service to their country are. That these are people who, might have been destroyed so thoroughly from a shell launched from 5 miles away that there's no remaining identification. It was not something that governments really were proud of or wanted to promote. I think if you were to ask, somebody and a politician in 1921, what kind of new memorial are we going to create out of the Great War, World War I, they would come up with something more impressive looking, something that, would kind of celebrate the victory. But what people wanted was a Tomb of the Unknown. They wanted acknowledging of the vast carnage in Great Britain, especially. 1 million soldiers were killed, and they were not repatriated back to Great Britain. They remained in continental Europe, and that was a policy that the British Empire had, because they didn't want to lower morale with a bunch of funerals every day. So they kept the burials on continental Europe, especially in France. And so after the war, there was this popular movement to recognize some of these unknown. One was selected, brought to Westminster Abbey, and lies there today with, kings and queens and great prime ministers. And it was on that model of the Tomb of the Unknown Warrior that the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier was created here in the United States and dedicated 1 year later after the Tomb of the Unknown Warrior. And it was a massive, massive movement. It was a tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people turned out to witness this dedication. And dedication is also the word we used for those who guard it round the clock. And we're going to talk with three of those guards, at least three of those guards today. I think we mentioned before that it is one of the rarest badges in the military, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier badge. Let me start by asking Jim Cardeman. Let's see if we could get him unmuted and ask him, because he has seniority among the guards here, when he joined the Tomb Guards and why. See if I could find you here, Jim.
He may have dropped off.
Oh, he may have dropped
Hey,
off.
Todd. Todd, this is Jim's son-in-law, and I'm trying to get him back on the call one last time. So give me a minute, and I'll see if I can't get him on. And I signed in as him, obviously trying to get into the meeting. So give me 30 seconds, and we'll see if we can't get him on.
We
Thanks,
got
Todd.
it. Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you very much. Bart, it's either you start talking about the tomb or I start singing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will not have singing. So I guess we would ask the same question all around, from a why or how did we get there? And Dennis's answer may be different, but so I started as a relief commander. The relief commander is the person that all you've probably seen in when the guard change happened that inspects the weapon. So that rank was of a staff sergeant. And there's 3 reliefs at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. They go by height, 5'10" to about 6 foot, 6 foot to 6'2", and maybe 6'3", and then Dennis's height.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you already. There are 3 reliefs, you said, and so 3 reliefs are 3 kind of teams of guards.
Look at them as squads. Yeah, look at them as squads, and it was by height. That's what determined what they are. So 3rd relief was the shorter, 2nd was kind of in the middle, and then Dennis will speak to his relief. The 1st relief was the tall guys. So my point to this, being the relief commander for those, that's like the squad leader, if you will, but the title is relief commander. In every guard scenario, there's a relief commander. So there's only one. We're the sentinels, everyone else in that squad or that relief, there's many of those, but there's only one relief commander, and that is the staff sergeant. So there's only one slot for that. So the person that was there before me was leaving, and then they have tryouts. So you can put your name in the hat if you want to try out for the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. There was an initial process to kind of vet those people who put their name in the hat, and then the competition, kind of began. So that's the way it was for me, and that's the way it was for a few years to follow during all of my time. But Dennis?
Bart, as a relief commander, do you have to go through all the training that any other tomb guard has to go through?
Yep, it's like a private all over again.
And it's really rigorous training, mental and physical, correct?
Yeah, definitely mental. I guess the physical part, what would be physical?
100-degree weather in the summertime.
Yeah, that's what you get out there, but you have to earn your way to get out there to be able to do that. So, to get outside, it is all this knowledge that you have to know. So I heard you mention about being a historian. We were historians. I used to think that, well, not think, my takeaway from having to know all that knowledge of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and Arlington National Cemetery as a whole was that we were the living, breathing, closest connected to the public that knew everything about the cemetery. And that was, and maybe Jim can answer this differently, but that was the reason why we needed to know all that knowledge. In order to be able to perform outside, you had to know an incredible amount of knowledge. So in a badge test of 300 questions, the test itself was 100, but when you trained for it, you had to know 300 questions because you didn't know which 100 was going to be on that test.
Right. So you have to study 300 questions. They ask you 100 of them, and you have to get how many right out of the 100?
I hope I did that.
Jim, we have you. Bart, we're going to have to go to Jim because we have Jim. And
Hey, I think I've already walked my tour. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm done.
You are just beginning, Jim. And I'm very grateful. This is Jim Cardamon. He is our senior tomb guard, and I'm going to share pictures of him just so you could see what he looked like back then. When did you join the guard?
November of 56, I arrived at Fort Myer. As far as going out to the tomb, that was September of 57.
Why did you want to join the tomb guard?
It was the epitome of being in the third herd. I mean, that was at least in my day considered, and I'm sure it should be if it isn't today, the being the best of the best.
So you are already a member of the old guard of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, which is the honor guard in Washington, D.C. And even among the old guard, it's the tomb guards that are the best of the best.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying. And tell me what, like, applying for it. I mean, you have to volunteer for it. And then how are you?
Actually, in my day, we didn't volunteer. You were tapped on the shoulder one day and they asked if you were interested in trying to get there.
Yeah.
And if you were, then we went from there to more intensive training out at post number 1. And that's where you did most of your training on your day off there. And you go out and work in the basement of the amphitheater.
Where are you?
You have to, I think you have to remember, in that day, it was the majority of the guards that were served with me were draftees. And there was more of a turnover. And so when one would leave, they'd tap the guy and take them out, and they'd take the ones out that they thought were ready.
Can you give us a sense of the training that you had to do to learn how to do the job and to pass the tests that it took to become a?
Well, a lot of I'm talking in my cases, which are probably different than Dave's and two Davids, right?
Bart
and
Dennis.
Bart, yeah. Than what they went through. A great majority of training as far as uniform care, position of medals on your uniform, the cleanliness, et cetera, was almost a daily process, because we were also burying, we served as the marching platoon for the funerals, and you had to fall out for a review. And if you got yanked off of that, you were probably never going to go out to the tomb. And so it was a lot of that part of that training occurred there. There were, in my case, there were one or two fellows that had been at the tomb and had come back to the company. And they used to spend a great deal of time with some of us, walking on the curb and helping us get the walk down properly. Worked on our manual till your shoulders were
manual of
almost
arms,
ready to bleed.
Manual of arms with the rifle.
Yes. And if they tapped you on the shoulder and asked you, you answered yes. And when they tapped me, I said yes. And then I finished up out at post 1. We were on a day and off a day. Each relief walked one day and then was off. And the day you were off is the day you spent training, getting your uniform ready for the following day. I think I was out there 2 weeks, again, because I had spent a good deal of time in the company and had a lot of that down. I was on the drill team the Army drill team as well as the Army colors and colonial colors. So I had a lot of time. And a lot of help from a lot of great guys.
Which one is you in this picture?
I'm on the right as you look at it.
Oh, okay. This guy, you're over here. Here we go.
Yeah.
And what was your, and then we'll go to Dennis and Bart. What was your like daily routine as a tomb guard? Where do you sleep? Where do you eat? What are you spending your days doing when you're not out on the mat?
Well, we had while we were out in this amphitheater, under the amphitheater, the day that we walked, we had quarters under there that were the remnants of the catacombs, I think, that they had built into the amphitheater. And we had four GI bunks in one little section, a little kitchenette in another section, and a television set. And we'd come off duty, shine, press, change if we had to, get ready for the next time we'd go out. Because our reliefs were structured a bit differently than they are now. That you're looking at my relief. There's only 4 of us there. I think they have 8 nowadays. So when Wayne Thomas was walking, Ralph and Pete and I were off 3 hours, because that was how long you got in between from your last time to the next time, when you had at least 4 men walking. There was a little spurt of time there when I was out there that we walked with 3 guys, and you met yourself coming off, going on.
Oh, geez.
Because you were only off 2 hours and you were back out there.
So you'd walk for 3 hours, get off for 2 hours, then walk again for another 3 hours.
No. Well, in this case, when you had 4 men walking, you walked 1 hour, and then you were off 3 hours.
Okay, got it.
Okay, and then you were back on and off another 3.
Got it. Okay.
And then you hit night hours, and they were a little different.
Night hours were a little different.
Times out there.
Okay. Let me add Dennis. I'll ask the same question I asked Jim. Why and how did you join the Tomb Guard?
I joined the Army and went to infantry basic training, and because I was tall and the '84 presidential election was happening, I kind of got recruited to go to the old guard. I had no idea what I was getting into at the time. And so when I got there, they assigned me to Echo Company, which is Honor Guard Company. That's the same company that the Tomb Guards are in. And so I spent 2 years in the 1st Presidential Marching Platoon doing things at the White House and the Pentagon and funerals and everything that goes on in Arlington Cemetery in the DC area. Basically just bugging my chain of command to go to the tomb. You had to volunteer, and there had to be an opening. And eventually, after about a little over 2 years, I was given a chance to go down. I went down as a corporal. At the time, there were 3 reliefs. There's still 3 reliefs, but I was assigned to 1st relief. I'm 6'2", and I was the smallest guy on that relief. There were some tall guys on the relief. And that's just how I ended up at the tomb. I mean, I just wanted to be there. I mean, obviously, it was my goal I knew nothing about the tomb before I joined the Army. I have to be honest with you. My grandfather graduated from West Point. My father was in the Air Force, and I still had no idea. I was just a stupid 18-year-old kid. I had no idea. But once I saw it and saw what it took and I wanted it badly, and just dedicated myself to being a tomb guard. And it was the honor of my life.
It's the honor of your life, and it's something you're very active in now. You're part of is it called the Society of the Tomb Guards? Society of the Honor Guard. Society of the Honor Guard. And you're very active in the society, which does a lot of education work in schools with kids. What value, because I'm very struck by this, what value do you think there is in kind of teaching younger people some of the values and character lessons that you learned as a tomb guard?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
What I get out of it is, especially when you go to like a 7th or 8th grade class and there's 100 or 200 kids that have never been to Washington, D.C. in their life, and they're getting ready to go to the tomb, to Washington, D.C. for the first time, and their school's going to lay a wreath at the tomb. I come before them, come about a week before they go, and I give them about a 45-minute presentation about the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. They all pay attention. They all have good questions. And I know when they go to the tomb, in the back of their head, they get it. You know, had I not spoken to them, their teacher might have said something or had a class. But when a guy shows up and has pictures and can talk about things and explain what is the tomb, it kind of clicks in their head. I've been doing that for 15 years, and I bump into kids now who are, 25, 26, 27 years old. They remember my little class or little presentation I gave them when they were in 8th grade. So it's pretty neat, pretty neat. I really enjoyed doing that.
That is really neat. And I love these pictures too. Can you tell us what's going on in this picture?
It's the wintertime, snow on the ground. Jeff England, Staff Sergeant Jeff England's changing the guard, and he is inspecting my weapon. I'm getting posted. At this time, I was a corporal when I got to the tomb. About halfway through there, I got promoted to sergeant, but I still kept walking. I was a sentinel, and also became an assistant relief commander. So in this picture here, though, that's our winter uniform. And Staff Sergeant England is inspecting my weapon, my M14.
Oh, it's an M14. M14 ceremonial weapon. I love the honor guard rocker here on your sleeve, and I noticed there's no insignia of your corporal hood of your rank.
No, when you're on the mat, when you're a sentinel on the mat, you do not wear rank to not outrank the unknowns. So it's just you don't ever want to outrank the unknowns. So that's why we don't wear rank on the mat.
How much time do you spend preparing your uniform? I hear that's a big part of your job. I mean, you've got to look absolutely perfect every time.
Hours. I mean, you have about 4 sets of uniforms you have to prepare: rain jackets, winter jackets, 4 dress blue uniforms in the summertime. You have to spit shine 2 sets of shoes. We used to shine our brass back in the days. Back in the days, we used to shine our brass. I don't think they do that anymore, but they still shine their shoes. But it takes hours. And that's what you do at nighttime if you're not on the mat training or helping train other newer sentinels. You're getting your uniform ready for the next workday. So that's hours. I mean, that word hours is I can't explain it enough. It's just if you're not studying your knowledge, you're getting your uniform ready or you're helping somebody else get ready.
And Jim and Bart, please do feel free to chime in here or jump in. So you're ironing pants and shining things and making.
They have an industrial press. There's a couple of industrial presses, and every single crease is on the crease. And if you're off by anything, it's part of the standard of being a tomb guard.
I actually looked this up. This is crazy because I'm so ignorant that I just learned that there was something called a gig line just a few months ago. and I discovered that I don't think ever in my life has my gig line been straight. But I learned that your gig line as a tomb guard, it's measured and you have to be within 1/64th of an inch of perfectly straight.
Well, actually, this has to be straight. There's no... Who knows what that means? No one knows 64 from 98 straight, or you don't go outside.
Or you don't go outside. Oh my!
Straight or not? 64 within, that means it's not straight.
It's
It's
tomb guard math.
There we go, tomb guard math.
Hey, Mary Klepper. Come on.
Yes.
Let's show your pictures here. Show your pictures. Let's see.
I am hoping one of these is Bart. I don't know.
That is so cool.
I'm 11 years old there.
Okay, we're going to spotlight. Let's spotlight you. Can you hold up the pictures?
Oh,
did you
I
put
sent
them
them to you
in
in
the
an email.
Oh, Ellie. Ellie,
I can share them. Here we go.
Yeah, do
Okay.
share them.
Let me
Do
pull
share
them
them.
up really quickly here. They're great pictures. Oh my gosh. Okay.
This is, from the old Kodak.
I just want to see
The
Mary when
photo
she's
man.
11.
Oh, dear God.
Yep, that's just what I pictured.
So I joke that with my fellow tour guides, I joke that my family, my brother and I are probably the reason for the chains up now around the guards. And then there's another picture of the guard being inspected. And I don't know if one of them could be Bart or not. I don't know. That's the development date on the back of the photo is 1980. So I don't know.
I think that's before their time.
I wasn't sure about Bart. I'm bad at that game anyway of telling ages for people.
Yeah, well, I could tell you Bart's very, very old, but he's not that old.
He doesn't look that old.
Just one very.
Just one very, yeah. I don't know if the other one came up, but yeah. No, I mean, I take groups there. It was interesting what the other gentleman was saying about the training that he does for the kids, because I take kids from all over the country to Arlington, and most of them know they're going there, of course, but they don't know a whole lot about it. And like sometimes as their tour guide, I have to read the essays and choose the 3 kids who are going to walk down, or the 4 kids that'll walk with the wreath. Like I have to read their essay about it or whatever. And so I teach the kids this stuff. But I don't teach them beforehand. I tell them to soak it in and then tell me what they saw. And then I talk to them about how there's no insignia. There's the guns on the outside, the count, the 21 steps, the 21 seconds of pausing, all that stuff. And the kids do tend to get really into it after that, as long as they haven't fainted on the white marble steps or, puked from all the walking, that sort of thing. So.
And Mary, I think the picture you had there was a guy named David King.
David King?
210. Badged, I'm pretty sure.
That's wow. Yeah. So the development date on the photo is September 1980.
Okay.
So, and I don't know about the other one with the guard inspecting, being inspected, but it's a good photo too.
Hey, Ellie, if you want to show that other picture, please do, take your time, but if you could share it, it'd be fun to see that other one. We have some great comments also here in the chat. Okay, here's where the inspection is being done. Have any of you ever had your weapon inspected and it didn't pass muster? And if it didn't, would you hear about it on the spot or later?
Well, you'd get sent down. If you didn't pass the inspection, you would get sent back to the guard quarters.
So that's it. You're done.
You go down and fix your correction. If it's something that's correctable, it doesn't happen very often. But I think maybe twice I saw it happen where there was something wrong with uniform. By the time they left the guard quarters and got up to where the inspection thing is at, which is about 50 yards, so who knows what happened. So it doesn't happen very often though.
I've seen it twice.
Wow, really?
Yeah. One time was
Never saw that happen.
A leaf fell on his uniform and they shrug it, they push it off. And then another time it was the weapon. Is it a bayonet on the end? Whatever, it came out and it went into a shoe. I was at that one.
A bayonet came off an M14.
The knife on the end, yeah, it went right into a shoe when he was, yeah.
Oh, that's not good. That's really not good.
He didn't even flinch.
Well, Bob Book, you had a question. You put it in the chat. Could you ask it to the room? I'd love to have each of them chime in.
You mean talking about the shaving?
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
That one. I'm not very. I use a razor, and my question. It may sound dumb, but I wanted to know, since you guys have those beautiful white shirts on, when did you shave before you got dressed? An hour before? 3 hours before? Did you use electric razors? Because if you nicked your face, what would happen?
Yeah, I guess you have to be real good at shaving. It would happen. You left the house, of course. So what I noticed when I was a new man, we may get to this particular part. When I was a new man, you'd see some of the badge holders. They're the older guys and have all the privileges, if you will. They may come in the morning and then they'll shave beforehand. So, but as a new man, you better not be caught doing it. I never did it when I had my badge either. When I was senior, I would always shave before I left the house. But like you're right, you better not miss it. You better have something to mitigate it. But that's kind true throughout the whole guard that you're wearing that white shirt, and you better figure out how to shave.
We used to get our haircuts every 3 days at the Marine Corps Exchange.
Yeah.
Buying tights every 3 days.
Every 3 days. Oh my God.
If you had black, if you had black dark hair, you had it cut more than that.
So our schedule, and it switched a few times when I was there, and I think for you too as well, Dennis, when we did the fireman kind of hours or whatever. But for the most part, it was day on, day off training, day on, day off training. So you'd work. After that full day of work was a day off. The next day was a training day. You came in, you trained in the catacombs, had a uniform inspection. Then we all went together, went to the barbershop together to get a haircut. And then sometime about 3 or so, you were off, and then you worked the very next day. And it was that routine all over again. Eventually it changed to, and this changed a few times. It changed to someone came in with some fireman's hours where you day on, day off, day on, day off, day on, then you're off 3 days. And somewhere in there, you figure out when you're going to train as well. So it was a few different scenarios of how we did, at least the time that I was there.
Beth Ruschel, could you chime in? I just saw your comment. And it reminded me that that Honor Flight, and I believe it's Honor Flight, is bringing in the traveling tomb of the unknown soldier right to the Pittsburgh area. I had not known that there was one.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a group out of Georgia called the Rome Exchange Club. They're from Rome, Georgia, and it's built. I believe it's a half size of the actual tomb. I talked to George, the president of our Honor Flight Pittsburgh group, a little bit ago, and I believe this Dennis is the one that he said is going to be there. Yes. And
did you guys get that squared away?
Yes, he told. Well, he's still working with them. I believe that the dates are going to be August 9th through the 11th, and it's going to be at the Butler Farm Show. We always have a booth at the Butler Farm Show, but they're trying to work out the space if we're going to be if the exhibit's going to be in a separate tent outside. That part we're not sure about the location of it. Okay. But yeah, I know that he told me to make sure that I said soldier, not soldiers, because there would be a correction. Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, not plural.
Right. And it's not Tomb of the Unknowns. A lot of people call it the Tomb of the Unknowns. No, that's a no-no. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
In a great video that we show, I don't know if you've been on a trip, Dennis, but when you go on Honor Flight, we show a documentary about the grueling training that you guys go through to become tomb guards, and it's about an hour long, and it's really great. It shows the small statistic of how many actually make it through and become tomb guards at the end. It's really quite impressive.
I talked on one of those trips. I went along and talked on the trips on we were going there. I switched buses halfway through, and we talked before we got to DC. It was like 2 years ago.
But we're going to be exhibiting it for about 2.5 days, Todd, and we're really excited. I never even knew anything like this existed. George just told us about it a few months back, and this is a great year to do this and to bring it here.
Oh, I absolutely would love to see it. And what are the dates again of the Butler Farm Show?
Well, the dates that we're going to have this there are August 9th, 10th, 2 full days, and then the 11th is going to be about a half a day because they have to pack up and go to Eastern Pennsylvania that day.
Okay.
But we're going to be making some sort of we're going to be making a booklet with the history of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And I believe that we would also like to include some stuff about Arlington Cemetery. George said he'd like to try and see if he could get all the people that are buried there from Western Pennsylvania. I don't know if there's a way to find that out, but he mentioned something about that and putting that in there. And we're going to be putting a booklet together.
You talking about Arlington Cemetery?
There might be so many. I mean, that might be another book on its own, is what I was thinking.
Dennis volunteered for that.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Hey, Todd, I want to answer a question. Someone asked about how long do you stay in uniform? So again, these released, it's first, second, and third relief. Everyone's on their particular day. So when I mentioned that 3-day rotation, on, off, training. So when you're off, another relief is on. When you're training, another relief is on. So in terms of staying in uniform and how long really depends on how many people are on your relief. In most cases, if you go up and walk, let's say it's summertime. So the hours vary from April 1st to September 30th. When you're up there walking, then you're up there for 30 minutes at a time. Then from October 1st to March 31st is 1 hour at a time. So depending on how many people are on your relief will determine how many walks you have that day during that period of time that we're up there. All those other hours in between that or after and before that, the cemetery is closed. So the first walk in those hours of every 30 minutes is from 08 or 8 a.m. to the last one being 7 p.m. And then in the winter hours, it's, I want to say 08 to 1700 or 5 p.m. So depending on how many people you have in your relief would kind of determine how many walks you have, which would determine how many times you change. But I will tell you a story about changing. And when I was a relief commander, I had to teach myself how to walk. So now I became a sentinel to walk on the mat. So the stripes came off my uniform. I had a blouse that we called it, that jacket, if you will, where it didn't have any stripes on there because I was walking. I took it upon myself to learn how to walk. My job was really to change the guard as relief commander. As you saw, the person with the weapon or inspecting the weapon. That was primarily my job. But I wanted to learn how to walk. And it ended up paying off because we were very, very short people. We had 4 people one time for about 2 months in the summertime. So I meant every 30 minutes, someone was going up. So I would change days between me and my assistant relief commander to he changed the guard all day, which is 24 guard changes. And I'd walk 12 walks in that rotation of those other 2 people. The 4th that we had was not really that good. So if you're not good, you don't get outside. But you get outside at limited times where the crowd isn't there. So at 08 in the morning, no one's there. At 1900, when the cemetery is closing, for the most part, nobody's there. So that's the time you get to go up if you're not very good. You're still learning, but you're not good enough to be out there in public, and you do not go out in public, even when we were short man like that. So, but taking it upon myself to learn how to walk long before we needed to, me and my assistant relief commander, we rotated. He changed guard 24 times and I'd walk 12, and I'd change the guard 24 times and he walked 12, in that rotation with another guy. So it's 24 guard changes during that period, and we just splitting them up. It's so in those situations, we probably, Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, in practicing to go outside and all the training, you have to get dressed like lickety split. And maybe you get down to about 10 minutes when you're in training, get a little more flexibility once you come out of that training period. But during that time when we were up one way or another, you probably get dressed and learn how to do it in about 6 minutes or 5 minutes even, because there just was no time for you to take everything off and change and put it right back on, in a short period of time to go right back up. So it was, so that paid off in your training. If you can't get dressed fast enough, you don't go outside when you're in that training period.
Your reference to times when there are spectators at the tomb and times when there aren't many reminds me that I have a video that I saw on YouTube not too long ago, about a 30-second one. I'll share it with you. And I just want to share it with the group. We shared it also in our recent email today. This is what happens when you get scolded by a tomb guard. And I'm going to turn on the sound because you got to hear the sound. Oh, this is the wrong one. This is frozen. It's frozen. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I'll stop sharing. And that's actually,
Todd,
yeah.
When you were talking to me and you had the one picture up and I wanted to reference it and I couldn't get myself on quick enough.
Yeah.
Is a group shot of the day on February 8th of 58, when the first badges were handed out. If you could flick that back on.
I will put that back on right now. So you're in this group here.
This is the group yes, I'm in there, yes. But that's the first bunch that received the badge. Prior to that, all the men that walked didn't have a badge, didn't get a badge, haven't gotten a badge. And that's 680. I think I heard Dennis say something about 680. That's the guys that have the badge. Prior to us, none of them did. So there's, quite a few more than just that 680.
And then in 1958, I think you told me, Jim, that the badges started to be numbered.
Well, the badges, when they first put them out in this day, they only had a supply of about 60 sterling silver badges. And when you got out, you had to give it back.
Oh.
And then they give it to another fellow, and then he'd have to give it back. That lasted from that day till the end of 63, I believe. And starting in 64, they got to keep the badge when they left. I was the first man out after we received those badges. So I was sort of the test case, and had to give it back. I sure as hell didn't want to. But the Army gave the badge back in June of 2003.
So 2003, they gave you the badge.
Shortly after we started the society, we went to work on getting a badge for as many guys that let us know they wanted it. They had to prove it with documentation, and so there were 23 the day that they awarded the badge to the guys that had it in that period of time.
Oh, that's neat. The
other thing I wanted to tell you, if I could.
Sure.
The other picture where my relief commander and I were coming up the steps. I think that's what I saw.
Yep.
Let me see if that was.
I'll get it up here. Yes, coming up the stairs. Yep. I have it right here. There. Hold on. There we go. I'm not as fast as I used to be. There we go. Okay.
That was when we were changing the guard from the opposite side of what everybody sees today. That was because they were working on the plaza, getting it ready for the Korean unknown and World War II unknown.
Right.
And we changed from that side until that ceremony that consummated that, which I think is an interesting thing, because we had to go up all of those marble steps and then down those marble steps.
Yeah. And I believe that World War II and Korean unknown.
Yeah, this is on the side that we were walking.
Okay.
During that period of time.
Okay. I love this one.
Yeah. By the way, I was listening to the lady. When I was walking, people could touch you. They could touch you, and touch you they did. At the end of the mat, it was open because we could walk straight off the mat into the sentry box on the north or south end. And that opening is where they would stand. And usually when you faced the other side, the north side, if you're on the south side, they touch you on the back.
So they would they stick their hand through that little window there and touch you?
No. You weren't in
there. Okay.
That's a new one. You weren't in the sentry box. You were out on the mat. And that's where that opening was that allowed you to walk, not to this, because this is in the front, and we all walked in the opposite side. The
Could you,
changing's all done in the
were you
office.
allowed to say, please do not touch me?
No, you weren't allowed. No, no.
Okay.
No, no.
All
No.
right.
No,
I
the only thing we were allowed to say is what there seemed to be allowed to say today. And that's to correct somebody and the way they were behaving.
Okay. Okay. So I think if I tried to touch this guy, he would not like it.
Yeah. Well, yes. If you get down to this end.
Everyone maintain an atmosphere of
Yeah,
silence
well, he's not.
and respect at all times.
Did you ever have to say that? And they seem to say it the same way.
Yeah. Basically, yes.
A lot.
You did a lot, Dennis?
Well, I mean, just people walk onto the plaza, or their kids are onto the plaza, or they don't stand up during it happens quite often.
It does happen quite often.
Well, see, but that picture to me says that, so Dennis, as you know, the guard change hadn't even began to start. So I question what era that was where people are coming in. So if you've ever been there's a busload of people coming in by the hundreds. No one tells them when they're walking up inside that part while they're waiting for the guard change to happen, that they can't talk amongst each other. And they're talking about what they're seeing.
Right.
Now, during the guard change itself, when that begins and whoever's changing the guard comes out and makes an announcement, it tells them right at the end of that announcement, it requested that everyone remain silent and standing. Now, on occasion, you may hear a whisper or whatever, you can correct it during that time, but that's during the actual guard change. So that's completely different than what you're seeing right there. I'm not sure what that is, but that's not during the guard change. So I think that's a leadership thing where I don't know what that is. And that action right there never happened when I was there. I don't remember that. At least my relief didn't do it. And the whole 2 minute soldier didn't do anything like that when I was the sergeant of the guard.
Didn't have to correct spectators or anything like that.
Not during that part. During
that part.
The actual change of the guard, which is the actual ceremonial part.
Got it.
On occasion, yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Robert McCormick, you were offered to be a part of the 3rd and you said no. Could you unmute yourself? You had just come back from Vietnam.
Yes, that's what.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Says it's unmuted.
Okay. Yep. We hear you now.
Yeah. When I was still in Vietnam, they offered me to become part of that. And I said, no, thank you. Like I said, that's 1969, 300 people are coming home a week dead. I just didn't think I could take it.
Oh boy. That's interesting. Why did they ask you? Do you know?
I was part of the 199th.
Okay.
The 199th is related company. We had the 2nd to the 3rd and some other units that were related to them.
Okay. Did you know Bill Moran by any chance?
Not offhand.
Okay. All right. Bill was in the 199th also. I see
many of us.
Bob Dvorak. I see Pete Mecca. I know you have you probably have questions or something to add. Please do feel free to speak up, either of you. How you doing, Pete?
Bart, were you a guard? Were you a tomb guard?
Yes, Bart was a tomb guard.
Okay, either Bart or Jim, do you know Herb Smith?
Yes.
Okay, I interviewed Herb Smith. He's a personal friend of mine.
Oh.
Oh yeah, great guy, great guy. First time I knew about the honor guard, but then, or the tomb guards, but then I went to DC several times with the honor flights as I was a board member. And I remember one incident where a young girl crawled out from under the rail and the guard stopped. And I tell you, I don't know about the girl, but he scared the hell out of me.
Yes.
He was very firm. He was very firm, and she crawled back under the ropes, or whatever you want to call it. Great experiences there, especially when you were with the World War II veterans on honor flight, and they watched the guards. And when the guards may know this, but when there are World War II veterans there, you know, they don't deviate from their program at all, from their walk and everything, except when the World War II veterans are there from the honor flights. When they leave, they scrape their bottom heel with the tap, and you can barely hear it, but they are doing that to honor the World War II veterans.
Oh, that's neat. I've never heard that.
It is neat. Just a very slight gesture, but God bless them. I mean, those tomb guards are dedicated. They have a lot more discipline than I ever had. Well trained, and they have females now too. So God bless them.
Mary Klepper, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. I had a question. One of them, a couple questions actually. One of them was about the women. One was, how many have we had to date? And do they still have to meet the height requirement? Because they do seem awfully tall to me. So my guess is yes. The second question is, it might be a little taboo thing. How many badges have been revoked?
Good question.
Well, there's been 4 women, I believe, and the current sergeant of the guard is a female. The current sergeant of the guard. I don't know how many badges have been revoked. There's been quite a few, but I don't know the number.
They had a female who was the platoon leader in the early 2000s. I forget what her name was, but she was a graduate of the Point.
Okay, so just 4 so far.
I think it's 4.
Okay. And then
That's what I read.
Okay. My next question is an odd question. How many of the tomb guards have gone on to serve in war like Afghanistan, Iraq, and then been killed? Because I can think of one off the top of my head. I think was Iraq and Afghanistan. Is that something that has happened more than once?
Because I think we've only lost one. Adam
Dittmeyer.
Dittmeyer.
Okay. And his brother served as well, if I recall.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Is that him?
Well, Dittmeyer was Afghanistan, and we had the Vietnam guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had a couple there. Spates,
Okay.
Bill Spates was one of them.
Yeah, there's probably, I think, been 3. I think 3 have been killed in action.
And are all 3 buried at Arlington?
I don't think Dittmeyer is. I think Dittmeyer is where he's from. I don't know.
Okay.
What?
These are the kind of questions I get when I give tours there. That's why I'm asking.
Yes, that, and do you wear boxers or briefs? That's
The
you get
kids
the
asked that one. The kids asked that one. I don't care what you wear.
Boxers.
I know that Todd, that Herb Smith, the tomb guard that I know, he was chosen for chopper school, and a gentleman talked him out of going. The gentleman talked him out of it was General Westmoreland.
How about that?
Yeah, he would drop by and see the tomb guards, and he talked Herb out of it.
Oh, that's interesting. Why don't I do this? Why don't you guys talk a little bit about the actual walk, the mat walk itself? I'm going to show a video of a soldier, I guess, doing the walk, and you could kind of talk through how this is done, how many steps, the process.
There, the sentinel's changing his weapon. The weapon is always away from the tomb. Counts for 21 seconds.
21 seconds.
21 seconds, pause. Then he'll take 21 steps. Stop. Face the tomb for 21 seconds. Turn and face the opposite way. Do a change his weapon. And then 21 seconds. 21 steps.
And that walk is very practiced, of course. What is the object? Not to be bobbing around, right? Not to have your head bob, not to move in any ancillary
Supposed to
way.
look like you're floating down there.
Is that a tough thing to learn? A tough walk?
Yeah, you get used to it. I mean, like for myself, I was in the old guard doing ceremonial stuff for about 2 years, but the tomb guards do it differently. It's a different, smoother walk. The heel changes sometimes are different. Sometimes they're like this guy here was a little bit wider heel change. Sometimes the chain of command changes that. It's not as wide. But so it's the same thing. If we watch Jim do it in 58, the uniform might be a little different, but it would look the same.
Really kind of modus operandi or the goal, you have a steel inside your heel. So you want that to sound. So I would advocate that, does it take a horse kick to make that sound that I see here? I would say no. So I'd be correct in that. I don't think you way outside the mat to achieve that. So, but like I said, there's different eras. Different eras do different things. But this is what happened when I was there several times.
So hold it. Just to be clear, you're throwing shade on this guy and his.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. I mean, I don't understand that, but that's all right. Like I said, different eras. So I mean, I'm not a part of this society because when it kind of began, everything was happening in DC and I lived in LA. So, but it's different eras have done different things based on the different leadership and all those kinds of things. I happen to had to where people would come down there and they watch this, and you're talking about throwing shade. You call the right person in the hierarchy in DC. We went from heel clicks to no heel clicks.
Really?
22-5 stuff, yeah. So you probably can't tell with his hat, but his hat's kind of built up a little bit. It makes it stand tall and look sharp. We had to take everything out of our hat, so you couldn't do that. In fact, not only was there no heel clicks, but they took the metal off of the shoe. So
When was that, Bart?
that was about somewhere in 87-ish for a period of time. I want to say it probably lasted about, I don't know, it feels like about 4 or 5 months that it lasted until it was bought back and gradually bought back. But it was just different iterations where you can make a call in DC, it didn't matter who it was. I remember one comment was that it looks more like a parade. It looks like, it was just all kinds of stuff. It's kind of like like in golf, people making phone calls and say that guy was a penalty. It would be that type of scenario. And leadership would come down there and everything would change.
Dan Vaughn, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
I just have a question. What are the causes to have the badge revoked?
Good question. I do want to hear about that because that's an important part of the tradition.
Well, there's a multitude of things. Felony conviction, disrespect the tune,
badge.
Badge.
Kind of conduct unbecoming.
Disrespect the badge.
Yeah.
Anything falling in that area of conduct unbecoming. So you've heard about all the training and the conduct and the way we conduct ourselves and the standards and the discipline and the honor and the respect. And its the ability to maintain that throughout your life. So anytime that something happens, if the leadership were to pursue it and follow someone's life and just if something happened, it is deemed as conduct unbecoming. And there would be a lot of scenarios where that would be the case.
And that's got to be the only military badge that can be revoked long after your service, correct?
Pretty much, yes.
Fascinating.
Yes. And it does happen.
And it does happen.
Oh, yes.
So you are not allowed to smoke, drink, or swear for the rest of your life. Is that true?
I'll let Dennis answer that one.
That is
not true.
You answer that.
Not true.
I don't know who started that thing. Most of that stuff is right. Most of that stuff on that email or that chain thing that's gone around the globe 45 million times is right, but the smoking, the drinking thing is no bullshit.
I don't drink or coke. I tell you right now, we will not be on your show.
When I
be on your show.
When I get asked that question when I'm making a presentation, I answer it by asking a question. I ask them if they ever knew a GI that didn't drink a beer and have a cuss word stuck in his mouth. And if you can answer that, affirmatively, I don't believe you either.
We would have never been trained because the people who trained us, the part, I can assure you that.
That is fact.
They use those words freely.
They didn't smoke down there and they didn't drink down there, but you heard something.
Herb Schaefer, you made a reference to a Tomb of the Unknown in Rome, Georgia. Herb, have you visited that?
It's a Tomb of the Known Soldier.
Oh, Tomb of the Known Soldier.
Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I wasn't familiar either. And we were down in Georgia visiting my son and went to an old cemetery, and there's a Tomb of the Known Soldier.
From do you know what period? Do you know what period of time?
If I remember right, and it's been a few years, it was about the same time as the Unknown Soldier. They wanted to honor known soldiers, and they were going to have the tomb by the Unknown Soldier, but the family then changed their mind, said, no, we don't want him buried there. And they moved him back to his home in Rome, Georgia.
I have failed to see anything that even comes close to pertaining to that in all of the stuff that we've read about and what we know about the first one.
Most tomb guards are nerds when it comes to this stuff. I'd never heard of that either.
There was no guard. There was a plaque there and an explanation. That might be worth the show, Todd.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking.
Where the traveling memorial's coming from is Rome, Georgia.
Right. And Jim Jameson has put the Wikipedia article. Thank you so much, Jim, for that in the chat. The Tomb of the Known Soldier sounds like a regular tomb to me, but
I see a question about the is there any unofficial initiations done within the unit?
Yep.
So I won't get too far now. Let Dennis maybe answer some of that. But I will say this. So in terms of knowing the knowledge in the cemetery, it wasn't just that you had to know it. So here's a scenario. The guard change happens, let's say it's summer hours time right now. So they're happening on the half hour. So not right now, let's pretend that it's 8:30 in the morning here. So a guard change is going to happen in 10 minutes. At a quarter till that hour, all the new men, which is people who don't have their badge, even if there's only one, they go to a certain corner in the tomb guard quarters, and they all holler quarter till at a quarter till that guard change. So 15 minutes prior to that guard change, they better be there. I mean, I see run from the bottom all the way up to the top and get in that corner, just get in there just in time. Quarter till, and so immediately after they say quarter till, they're asking for that guard change or the walk. You know, Corporal McMahon, may I have this walk? And then Corporal McMahon will begin to ask them numerous questions that they must answer correctly in order to get that walk. In some cases, he may have them run, or I'm sorry, he will have them go to a specific grave or cenotaph to see what's on the back, or make them take a piece of paper with a pencil and etch something to show that he's been there, just to know that he's been that far. In most cases, Corporal McMahon, and later the Sergeant McMahon, he'd have him run a pretty good distance and where they have to run there and run back. And if you get back in time, do you get that guard changed? Now they're trying to get dressed in about 7 minutes. We had to go so far to come back. But you could not imagine how fast people really are when they really want to get that guard change, they want to get that walk. So you could say that's a kind of an unofficial initiation, but it was part of the program. So even me as a staff sergeant, and if I was on Dennis's relief and he had the badge and he tells me to go do whatever, I got to do that in order to change that guard. So that's what it was like for the process to earn that particular either walk or guard change.
Dan Vaughn again.
Yeah, one last question. Now that they have identified the soldier from the Vietnam tomb, is that now a void area of a casket?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And why wasn't he replaced?
That's a
Family
long
didn't.
story. We could do a separate thing on that.
Okay.
That's a long story. But DNA really had a lot to do with that.
Well, we do know. No. We had Pete Mecca with Patricia Blassie on last week. But why are there unknown remains that could represent Vietnam at the tomb?
If they have remains, they really, if they have a piece of bone, they can pretty much identify you.
Okay, got it. Bob Book.
I mean,
Yes, Todd, to that point, I wanted to ask, is there a place in Arlington Cemetery where there are unidentified remains buried?
Yes.
Thousands.
Civil War people.
Mostly Civil
especially.
War.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Remember the things of World War I, before World War II, getting bodies back to the United States was kind of a rough task. Didn't have helicopters, didn't have things like that, so they stayed there.
Yes.
So like I said, but there won't be another Vietnam unknown.
That cemetery actually got started with mass graves.
Truly.
That they could not identify.
On Robert E. Lee's.
Who was a Union general that he quartered in his troops in the Custis Lee mansion?
Butterworth.
And he buried soldiers in Robert E. Lee's wife's rose garden, all around the Custis Lee mansion.
Yeah.
I think his name was Butterworth.
Yeah.
Mary.
One of my questions is how sometimes when I go to the change, sometimes it's audible and sometimes it's not.
Sometimes they do what's called a silent guard change. I don't know why they do it or what they do it for. We didn't do it very often 30 years ago.
We wouldn't have been allowed to do that.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
And I've heard of them. We didn't do it in our time, but I've heard of it. So that doesn't mean the leadership made a decision just to kind of do that. They're really trying to, and we would do it sometimes in the catacombs in training, but we never did it outside. It's trying to get in sync with the hill clicks and get in sync with everyone. So and trying to do it if you're not speaking to see if you can pull it off. But we never did it outside. But I've heard of it happening.
I think it was going on a lot during the
for doing
COVID,
that.
right?
Say again, Mary?
I said, I think it was going on a lot during COVID, which probably was good because then they didn't have to speak. But I don't know, because somebody was saying when they just restarted to the public, it was all quiet.
I don't know.
It's not Butterworth, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, and I should know this because he's buried right over there by Abner Doubleday. What is his name?
Montgomery? No.
Montgomery Miggs.
Montgomery, is it Miggs?
Miggs, yeah. His son was killed at Bull Run, I think, and he
Yes.
was furious with Lee because Lee was a West Pointer like Miggs was. He was livid with Lee.
Hated Lee.
Oh,
That's
man, he
exactly
was
who
so
it was.
mad at him.
Yeah.
Todd, look
So
at Dennis. Look at Dennis answering those test questions even today.
I love it. And,
I'm just taking notes, man.
I was going to say that. I mean, you guys had to memorize 300 facts about the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Arlington National Cemetery. How many of those facts remain in your brain today?
Well,
you pulled up the picture there with the guard standing out there in the snow. So there's like a poem for everything. So here's one. You're the gleaming pride of the American soldier. I'm staying corrected. Yeah, you're guarding the world's most precious gifts. You and you alone are a symbol of 200 million people who wish to show their gratitude in your march through the rain, the snow, and the heat to prove it. So there was a good example of that one.
There's a good example. That one is right. Yeah. We have a few others, two of those. And I wanted to. Yes.
Go ahead.
No, somebody else is going to speak. Speak up.
So you see in this picture here where Dennis mentioned his relief commander. Hey, who's your relief commander?
That's Winston there. Remember Winston?
Yeah.
That's Corporal Winston.
Killed by his neck, but he was the staff sergeant.
That was England. The staff sergeant was Jeff England.
Yeah, so I trained England, Todd. I trained England to change the guard.
How about that? That is so
There were
interesting.
guys that I trained that went to first relief, and they were like 6'3", 6'4". So when you're doing they're inspecting the weapon, right? So I would be the guard, and they're standing way above me so I'd bring it to port arms, but it'd be way up here by where they were. Otherwise, they had reached way down here to be so awkward. So it's pretty funny watching them do that, and then try to give it back to them, and I had to reach up here to get it. And that was all in training, never outside, but in training them to do the job. That's what I had to do.
What's the worst, heat, cold, or rain?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, good answer. Okay,
man.
it's all tough, huh? And how about, do people like shout things at you to try and distract you? I mean, are people jerks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, most of the time they're real respectful, though.
Okay.
It's mostly respect. You have your percentage of people out there who just don't get it,
right?
But the majority of them are just like this. They're just watching in amazement,
Yeah.
So
here's my favorite, and it was when I was walking. It's summer, so every 30 minutes, and so all these people are here now. Can't really tell what's going on. Look like the ceremony's going on because I see some people in the middle. But if there wasn't a ceremony about to happen, you have all these people here, and they all came on the bus. And after the guard change, all but about an eighth is going to be left. Everybody leaves because that's their transportation. So there's a few people left, or some people might show up and waiting for the next guard change. So one time, I had this, so when the mat's there and there's no ceremony, there's a chain that probably runs right along where the guy is to your furthest left. There's a chain right there. So people can come as close to the chain. They remove the chains removed when there's a ceremony here. And it's happening here now. So anyway, I'm walking, and this little kid, fascinated by the walk, he walks 21 steps. He stops and tries to do what I do. I face DC, my back's to him. I can't see what he's doing. I turn back around, change weapons, count 21 and wait. He's standing right there at the side. I start walking, he starts walking. I know he has no idea I'm taking 21 steps. He just goes when I go and he stops when I stop.
Right.
It wasn't bothering me. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He wanted to be a tomb guard. I'm like, yeah, you can touch somebody's face one day. So I just let him do it. I don't know where his parents was, but so I didn't do it. I just let him watch him. But in my mind, I wanted to do this quick stutter step and all this just to see what he would do. Because he had done it like 4 or 5 times back and forth. I knew if I had stopped and stutter stepped and went, he'd been what to do. But it was pretty funny that he wanted to walk with me the whole time.
That's a great one. Dan Vaughn.
I just want to take the time to thank all the guards that were on tonight. You have my utmost respect, and thank you so much for what you've done and for what you're doing now. Thank you.
Wait,
thank you.
Todd. Todd,
Hey, Cheryl, how are you?
Fine. I want to say hello to Dennis. Dennis got us special permission to hear his assembly he put on at Butler Senior High School. And I want him to tell the size of their waistlines again, the shape they had to stay in. That was amazing. Yeah.
It was 29 inches. I think I don't know if it still is, but it was 29 inches.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if it still is, but that's what
I thought it was 31.
Oh, no. That was way back.
The rack that we had our belt on was the size of the biggest belt. If your belt went over the rack, you were gone.
You're gone. Yeah.
And I'm 6'2". I was the smallest guy in my relief, and trust me, Staff Sergeant Jeff England had a rough time getting into a 29-inch belt.
He had a rough time. I mean, not to compromise standards, but I mean, if everyone here thinks about it, at that height, unless you're just super, super skinny basketball player, okay, it's kind of hard to be 29. It's probably not even for you to be going, 6'4", have a 29-inch waist, but yeah, then it's hard to find those guys that come out there and do it as well. So
what do you think what do you think you weighed when you were out there, Bart?
Oh, no more than 160.
I was 180. I was 180.
Yeah, I was 173.
Yeah, when I left there to go be a platoon sergeant in the company, I never changed my belt. It was the same belt.
Yeah.
I remember, weighing myself probably more regularly, and I'd hovered at the 160, 165 or something like that. I didn't get any more of that, not when I was in Old Guard.
You didn't get big in the Old Guard.
Yeah. I mean, I ran well. I was a fast runner, so you're not going to be able to keep any weight on like that anyway. So,
They ran us every morning.
Yeah.
Every morning. Chule, how are you doing, Chu?
Oh, I'm okay. I have a question. May I? Anybody
Please.
can answer it. I am doing the honor guard in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and my problem I see most of the time. And my question is, are you involved with folding the flag?
Folding the flag.
Yeah,
Folding the flag.
Yeah, like we have 6 2-row, and then the leader will take care of the tucking of the flag in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have to avoid that red to show. And I've seen most of the time some leader couldn't handle that. So I want to ask, what is the trick to avoid that?
Yeah, that's a whole separate show right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly nothing like, because if you're in the Old Guard, you're doing the funeral, so you know how to fold the flag. But at the tomb,
There's
we
a
have
whole
flagpole. We have a flagpole, and every night we go out and retrieve the flag, and 2 guys will fold it. Exactly how you're describing, 2 guys, and it's perfect. So
here's a scenario. So let's say we just finished changing a guard. A new guard is posted. Dennis just came off. He comes off and he goes back down into the tomb guard quarters. I'm the relief commander. I kind of trail behind him by, I don't know, however many seconds it is. And then I go into the quarters. At best, we take off our gloves so the flag doesn't get wet. And then we go out straight out to the flagpole, lower the flag, and then he and I together would have to fold that flag to standard, just the 2 of us.
There's a whole section that casket bearing section that can fold that flag in their sleep.
Yep.
And can I find that information on Google or something?
How to fold it?
I wouldn't be surprised that you could.
Yeah.
the American Legion does training on that all the time.
Sure.
Yes. Chu, I will send you information about folding the flag.
Okay.
Okay, I will do that. And if I forget, remind me. Say, hey, Todd, you said you were going to send me information on folding the flag. You forgot. So
okay.
All right.
They have training session here, but they don't have enough time for everyone to
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, Todd. Thank you.
What an interesting evening.
Hey,
Mary,
Todd.
yes.
I was just going to say one last thing because you had brought it up. You said something like how the guards are so in tune with the people in the stands and everything. And I've had several tours where I would have a kid with like Tourette's.
Yes.
And tics
Yes.
are one thing, but
Yeah. Shouting obscenities.
and
Right.
so I went in one time and it was really bad. And so I saw a couple, I call them the undercover guards that are in the crowd now. And so I said to him, I said, hey, look, I just want to let you know. And he said that the guys now, or, the guards now, that they know the difference between, if a guy's just yelling out the F-bomb to be a jerk and somebody who is having an episode of some sort. And he said they're now trained to like really know, I guess. And he said they will know the difference. And so I was glad because my student was just dropping F-bombs every 30 seconds. I was so horrified.
I
mean,
cannot.
I know he couldn't help it, but I was, to me, that's like the most sacred space since I've been 11 years old, and I was freaking out.
Yeah. Eric, you have your hand up. How you doing, Eric?
All right. I got 2 questions. I know the 21 gun salute is the best recognition for an officer, but why is it 21 steps? What does that represent?
Same thing. Highest honor. 21 steps, 21 seconds. It's the highest honor. It's the same thing.
So it's a way to
Thank you.
represent the 21.
It's
Hey,
just the number 21 is repeated. Just, you usually get 23 rounds out of the artillery too. 21 rounds.
Yep.
21's a big number to Tomb. Everything's 21. If you go down there, there's a mat with a Roman numeral 21. Everything is 21 because it's all about respect to the unknowns. So
Lee
if you ever go to
Corfield.
Tomb Guard quarters.
Hey, Lee, did you have your hand up, Lee?
Yeah, I just, you hear me all right?
Yep.
I just wanted to say in 2017, our Vietnam Vets of America Chapter 862 Honor Guard went down there, and some of us older guys that started the Honor Guard back in 2000 had the honors of taking a wreath down and placing it at the tomb. And working with you guys was the highest part of my life. And I guess it was the head commander. We were briefed downstairs what was going to happen. And then we went out and we met at the top and they told us when to come down the steps. And we went and placed the wreath and then we went back up to the top of the steps. And you know, you guys are hardcore, strict, awesome to watch. And we got to the very top step and we're still intense. We did an about face. We're still in a position of attention, and we went at ease, and that sentinel said, well, now, how'd you guys enjoy that? Did you enjoy doing that? And I'm thinking, this guy is a human being. It was it was an awesome, and it is on YouTube, and I was very honored to do that and be around you guys. It was quite a trip.
Oh, that's so neat. Thank you for sharing that, Lee. That's neat. I'm going to have to try and find that on YouTube. Leo West, how are you doing?
On the button.
Yeah, those wreath ceremonies are interesting. We, as a Tomb Guard, you do hundreds of them. I mean, so.
How neat. Leo.
Yeah, the 21 gun salute and 21, the number 21 represents 1776 if you add them together. And I don't know where I got that, but I've had that for years.
I have never heard that, or if I did, I forgot it. That's neat. That's good. Thank you, Leo.
Hey, Todd,
Yes.
did anyone explain why they don't use the M16?
Why don't we use the M16?
I think the guards can tell you.
Okay, please do tell us. Dennis, you could unmute.
I never known it to be a ceremonial rifle, number one. I guess dating back to, you know, the times that weapon was used, it became the ceremonial rifle and it just never changed. That's the only history I know about it.
Dennis, do you know anything else? Dennis, can you unmute?
Well,
it's very balanced. It's with the bayonet on it, it's just very balanced. And we actually, when you're in the old guard, you actually qualify, use those things. Back then you did. I don't know if you do anymore, but yeah, it's a great rifle.
Yeah, we had in the inventory. Maybe there were a few M16s, M4s at the time. I guess maybe M4s were coming out. I don't even know if they were even out when I was there, but M16s for sure. But there weren't that many of them. You went to the field with that 14.
yeah, the way it was explained to me, they couldn't use the M16 very well because it's automatic rifle. The clip holder sort of got in the way. It wouldn't be a good rifle to use, as with any automatic weapon that holds a magazine.
I couldn't imagine doing that job with an M16.
No. My era carried the M1 all the way up till it switched to the M14. They're just both very good ceremonial rifles. And you're right, Denny. The balance is so good. They were also drill team rifles.
Yep. And there is actually an automatic switch on an M14.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. But Dennis said that I bet you he inspected that M16 several times though. Just so he could do it.
How many of you remember when back in the 50s, I remember as a little boy, I had a trainer rifle and it was a bolt action wooden rifle with a rubber bayonet. Does anybody remember that?
03. It was probably a copy of the Springfield 03.
Mm-hmm. Anybody remember that though, other than me?
Yeah, I do.
Only Todd remembers stuff in the 50s.
Excuse me, what was that remark about the 50s?
Thank you for defending my honor, Jim.
You got it.
Oh my gosh, what a fascinating night. Oh, Lisa Refner. And I think John Ferguson also wants to say something, John.
Okay, I just wanted to get a chance to say something because I have to leave in a few moments. My son's working night shift. So I wanted to thank everybody for sharing their stories tonight. I have to admit, we go every year to Wreaths Across America at Arlington in December, my son and I, and we lay wreaths, and then we always go up to the tomb for the noon. About noon is when it starts. They have a couple wreath laying ceremonies, and we like to go and participate, as spectators, but the utmost respect for what everyone does and the wreath ceremonies. I'm an emotional person by nature, but I'm in tears by the end of all of them, and just much respect for everything that you do. So, and one last thing, the Western Pennsylvania, this is just something interesting. First time I went to Wreaths Across America, we chose a section of Arlington at random. They don't assign you. You just walk. And ironically, in the section that we were laying wreaths, within 10 graves of each other were 3 Western Pennsylvania veterans from my hometown were buried within 10 graves of each other.
Wow.
And I didn't choose that. That just was randomly where we went. So I took pictures of it, and I just thought it was, and that whole Wreaths Across America, that's a wonderful day for my son and I.
John Ferguson, you could have the last word. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, I read someplace where the government seized the Lee estate for back payment of taxes, and they were going to demand that Robert E. Lee come and pay the taxes.
So the federal government seized Robert E. Lee's estate, which was Arlington, which became Arlington Cemetery, and they levied a tax that he couldn't pay in order to.
Well, they said he had to come and pay the taxes in person.
Okay.
And there was no way Robert E. Lee in the middle of the Civil War is going to do it.
It
was Mary's property, which was unheard of at the time for a woman to own land. It was Mary's because it came down through her family. Yeah. Because she's the descendant of George Washington. And she can't cross into enemy lines. And that case went all the way to the Supreme Court to get their property back. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you. What a fascinating night this is.
One other thing. One other thing. If anybody sees the movie, if nobody's seen the movie Gardens of Stone, it's about the old guard. That's an excellent movie.
I was in it.
Watch.
If you were in the old guard in 86, you're in that movie.
What's it called?
Yeah, Bart was in there. Huh?
Gardens of Stone.
Yep. It's an excellent movie. If you were in the old guard in 86, 85, 86, I forget what year they filmed it, you were in that movie, whether you liked it or not.
James Earl Jones, James Caan, D.B. Sweeney. I forget who else was in there.
We guys from the 50s. We guys from the 50s were soldiers, not movie stars.
Okay. All right.
I'd like to but you can close everyone to close, but just I'll say this. It was I think all of it's an honor. I tell people it was that's the best duty of my military career, to serve there. And as we touch upon and get near Memorial Day itself, I remember back to those Memorial Days and the veteran days of serving there and how important those were. But the really special ones was when I was a sergeant of the guard and had the wreath in my hands when the presidents were there, President Herbert Walker Bush and Vice President Quayle, and presidents from foreign countries like Gorbachev and the president or the leader from the Senegal, and all those people that being part of their itinerary to come when they came to the country was to lay a wreath at the tomb of an unknown soldier. Those were the special times. But like I said, especially the Memorial Days and the Veterans Days, and how people would come out. So I start my Veterans Day, Memorial Day at 11 a.m. watching that event every year. To me, that's the kickoff. That's the true meaning of it. If you sit there and stay there and watch all of that on those days, and the speech by our leader, whomever it is, that's a special time.
You can see Vice President Quayle here during a ceremony that you were involved with, the laying of the wreath. Wonderful way to close the program. Thank you so much, Bart. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Jim. This was such an education. I feel like we just scratched the surface. And I do want to let you know that we are going to be back tomorrow night. And tomorrow night, we're having a Tuskegee Airman on. 96-year-old Colonel Harry Stewart, who's a P-51 pilot. And Glenn, I know that you've been talking with Harry about this. Do you want to let people know a little bit more about the program?
Yeah, read his book, Soaring to Glory. He wrote with a co-author a couple of years ago. This has been one of the most interesting men I've talked to in interviewing a World War II veteran. Of anybody I've talked to over all the years, previous to VBC and other things I've done. First of all, you'd never guess he's 96 years old. You might think he's Todd's age, 55 or something like that. I mean, seriously, he is incredibly lucid and clear. His experiences are fascinating. He was 19 years old when he made it to Italy in late 44, early 45. And the whole story of the Tuskegee Airmen is interesting as well. But his personal story is fascinating. His post-war military service is fascinating. And then he has to leave the military in 1950 because just before the Korean War, because they're downsizing. And he goes on to have an incredible professional career in engineering. Really an interesting man. So I'm looking forward to interviewing on the program tomorrow night and everybody asking questions about his experience.
And here he is holding up a 3 because he shot down 3 enemy planes in one day in 1945, I believe. So
right.
I'm sure he'll be talking about that. And then the next morning, Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., we're going to have VA Secretary Dennis McDonough and then Congressman Connor Lamb on. And Secretary McDonough is promising to answer questions that veterans have. I've sent him a list of questions that came to me. And so I'm very much looking forward to that. That'll be Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Same Zoom link. Please do join us. Love to have you join us. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Yeah, I had other questions. I have so many other questions here written on my tablet that we didn't get to. I'd love to be able to do this again, maybe closer to Veterans Day and continue the conversation. All right. Thank you all. Good night, everyone.